this is in the first round, about 5 minutes. And since my good friend Anna I've known for a while, let's begin with Anna. Thank you.
Philip, hi. I have just heard my name, nothing before. Does that mean that we should start?
I also have not heard anything. I did not hear anything.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, sure. So I'd like to start with 3 questions that 5 minutes each of the presenters. Then we go to another question, 3 minutes, and then I will ask for some Q&A and discussion between ourselves. I don't want presentations, you know, each one does 10 minutes. It's
okay.
More boring that way. So one is results that your IT parks have done so far. Another one is what type of an IT park you are, whether it includes IT companies within your IT parks, is it special legal regime, is it focusing on specifics like AgTech, food tech, fintech, something like this. And the last one is what you think is a best practice that could work in Central Asia. We have a mixed groups for people from representatives from Central Asia, but also a couple from outside. So kind of in this first round, I would like you to talk or represent yourself through those questions. So we'll start with Anna. Go ahead.
Okay, so as I understand, then it's not applicable to have slides because we have prepared some, but I guess first of all, Philip, nice to meet you. There has been a time that we have not met, but I'm really happy that the virtual way is making it possible. When we refer to the IT parks, actually one second, let me put one slide on, just so that its visual stays behind me. 1 second. I'll share my screen and then I have this. Let me know if you can see or not.
Yes.
Let me put a slide show mode. So when we refer to Moldova, we do use a special fiscal regime where we have virtual IT park present, meaning we don't have a physical place provided to the companies to be able to benefit of the single tax that is applicable, in that case the 7% unique tax that replaces all other taxes in a combined mode. The companies have to be residents of Moldova, but there is an interesting fact that they can be all over the world, and then they have to comply with the Moldovan legislation. And it's quite easy to be part of the Moldovan IT park. One company has to fulfill specific solutions in order to be able to apply in that case. For Moldova, I guess this kind of model is the best one at this moment, just because infrastructure investment takes a lot of time. And back in 2014, 2015, when we started working on this legislation package together with the government, we did not really have the time to build that much as we wished. Therefore, we came up with a virtual one, and it works fine. When we say it works fine, there are some numbers that my colleagues from the Moldova IT Park have shared. There are over 800 residents as of last month. I'm saying last month because they're growing every week. And there are 160 companies with foreign capital. There are over 250 million euro forecasted sales for 2021, over 13,000 employees, which represents currently about 75% of the total employee pool in Moldova. And there are new ones coming to the country. It's very attractive, probably one of the best ones or the best regimes in the Southeastern Europe. When the private sector and the government were looking at that, we were looking at what can we do better than the others. So that had to be an advantage where it's not linked only to a physical place rather than much more than that. There are also challenges when you do virtual versus physical, and they're actually the same in that case. The biggest difference, while the legislation is important, the biggest difference is also made by the human capital, where actually that's the project that I represent. It's called TechWall, which came to support over 100,000 people in the last 5 years to improve their skills or gain better skills. Very in short, I guess I used my 2 minutes, so the round goes to the next one. Philip, if I did not answer anything,
I have follow-up questions later on for you. No problem. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to stop sharing so
yes.
that you don't have, not interfering with the visual component of the others.
Thank you. Akshay, won't you take over the ball, please?
Yeah, surely. I think I might be an oddball here, given that I'm not actually representing an IT park or someone who has done it, but come from a think tank. But over the years, we've done some work with the government, especially looking at how IT parks have been able to pitch to foreign companies.
Yeah, maybe you can focus on like best practices then, kind of.
Yeah, so I thought yeah, maybe I'll give 3 points, and you're welcome to ask me more questions later. The first point I wanted to make is that I think that, you know, whether India benefited from the first round of IT exports is well known, but initially most of these IT parks were in tier 1 cities, and over time we have seen that the importance of tier 2 and tier 3 cities has grown in IT parks, and and that's a transition I think which has very, very important implications for kind of talent we seek and the kind of investment we seek, jobs. And of course, it's an important part of it, which is actually the physical location. The second thing I wanted to talk about is that we had conceptualized the IT parks initially just in terms of companies and people and employees. So, you know, there are IT parks that go up to 200 to 300,000 people, and anywhere between 500 to 2,000 companies at any given location. But what has happened is that more and more there are other kinds of entities that are participating in the IT parks, and the growth of engineering and business colleges is, for instance, one of them, which is now housed, and they're able to leverage the corporate linkages and the faculty that is nearby, including doing some projects. And this is particularly important because in India, the link between corporate and university research was not very strong. And so housing educational institutions closer to the IT parks has been very valuable. And the third and the last point I wanted to make is that what we had traditionally considered as good for development hubs, whether it's Bangalore or Hyderabad, which are very well known, but what startups and just the ubiquitousness of internet bandwidth that has now spread across the country has enabled is that there are many other centers of excellence that have come up beyond that. For instance, Delhi, which should otherwise not be considered either the financial or the technology capital, increasingly has the largest number of startups in the country now, because that's where all the professionals who originally worked for the Googles and the Accentures and the Microsofts mid-career gave up those jobs and started their companies. So I think there is a change in dynamics there, and certainly the easy access to internet and broadband is one of the reasons why it can be based in other parts of the country, and that helps you do that. So I'm going to stop here, Phil.
Thanks. Appreciate it. So actually, very good points. On your first point, IT Park from Tashkent's not here, but they do have regional hubs all over the country, and they are implementing, kind of trying to cover the tier 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. And it's a very good point. Your second point, in connecting the academia to the business. I think this is very much needed in all our countries. And it's a good way to think about maybe the IT parks could be the nucleus for something like that. Abu Bakr, if I can invite you, I think I know that in Tajikistan you guys are thinking about the whole ecosystem and IT parks and things like this, so you can tell us a bit about what's going on there.
Thanks for giving floor, Mr. Philip, and nice to meet you. So I want to tell about a legal framework of our law on technological parks. And in accordance with the Advisory Council under the President of the Republic of Tajikistan, the Minister of Industry and New Technologies needs to develop a draft law of the Republic of Tajikistan on technological parks in a new edition, taking into account the creation of information technology parks. This the draft has already been developed and is under considerations by ministers and other committees. Also, a new version of the draft law on digital signature and electronic document management has been developed and is under consideration by other ministries as well. It is expected that the adoption of these drafts will create a favorable environment with attractive and stimulating conditions for the development of entrepreneurship in the field of IT, the introduction of innovative solutions in industry, the development of IT industrialization, and the connection between science and production. And in that draft law, expected four option of technoparks. It's IT park, industrial park, R&D park, and agro-industrial park. And as I was mentioned, that
I think we lost him.
And benefits,
Oh, okay.
benefits legal and custom benefits to residency and all subjects of that technoparks. Also, I want to mention that on month of June of this year, the Council of Artificial Intelligence was formed under the Ministry of Industry and New Technologies of the Republic of Tajikistan. Currently, this council is developing a national strategy for the development of artificial intelligence. And this council is formed to get feedback from the community, the private sector, academic and expert circle, the media, public organizations, and public figures will be able to take a part in the network of that council. And the Artificial Intelligence Council under the Ministry of Industry and New Technology of the Republic of Tajikistan inform its members on how to implement AI to improve the productivity of manufacturing and services. And within this council will be created working groups that will be bring together AI researchers with companies to develop and introduce AI into the country economy. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, you have colleagues here in the region. Maybe, you know, if you ever need some best practices or worst practices, we will have had something go wrong. So hopefully you can touch base with us. We also have an office in Tajikistan, so if we can help you with any of this, we're working with the e-commerce council in Tajikistan. So we'll be happy to work with you as well if we can be of assistance and bring in kind of the private sector towards your initiatives. But I might have some follow-up questions for you later on. But let me go to Chubak and explain about your high-tech park. And we did a joint event, a B2B event, a few months ago, so which was successful. So hopefully, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome to Bishkek, and thank you very much for giving the floor. I'm very happy to give you more information about the high-tech park, about what we are doing and what we achieved. So the presentation will be about our results. So just a second.
We're an IT conference with IT problems.
Yeah, so some minor issues happening. So I just would like to show the results, and that therefore I'm not actually continuing. So the high-tech park is just a very similar regime, just like in any country, like in Moldova. So it's a legal regime that gives tax preferences to export-oriented IT companies. But also we give these tax exemptions to so-called interactive service centers and to some parts of animators and content creators. So 10 years passed for the park, and I just would like to show our results at the next slide. So as you can see on this slide that we started our operations in 2013, and during these 10 years, we now number to up to 125 companies working for the high-tech park. 90% of our income is export, so we are export-oriented industry. So last year the earnings was about $14 million, and 90% is exports. And this year we're expecting to double this number, so up to $30 million, and hopefully again the export will be at least 90%. And more than that, our resident companies employs about 1,200 people, but they're working with the whole world, with almost 30 countries. The top countries are, you can see on the slide that it's US on the first place. So next is Russia, then we have Kazakhstan. We also do export to Cyprus, other countries, and Japan. So including UK. So these are the top 6 countries. By revenue origin, you can see that 96% in the last quarter was exports. So we expect from the companies at least 80%, but they're doing much more because the IT industry, the local market is too small, and therefore companies that are opening from the scratch, they are already starting to be export oriented and start looking for projects outside of the Kyrgyz Republic. If you can see by type of revenue, so you can see that the first place is software development, and we are having a very rising industry of interactive service centers. So our company is working as a dispatcher workers for the US tracking businesses. So it's also a very rising business, and we are expecting a lot from this industry in customer support. On a third place, we have very creative industry, which is content creators and animators that monetize through the YouTube. And I can give you one small example that recently one of our residents, first in Central Asia, got the first brilliant button. As you know, you got this button for 10 million users, and they are top rated among top 5 and sometimes top 3 companies in content creation for kids. And as you know, the top number 1 is Baby Shark. So probably the ones you that have children know about this so-called cartoon. Yeah, just examples, 3. The one is the company, the Billions, that I've just mentioned, that got the first brilliant button in Central Asia. The other one is the dispatch company, Kyrgyz-oriented business. They are working in the US, and they have dispatch services here in Kyrgyzstan. And the third example, just a small example of very fast developing product company that have some tools for Shopify. All we know the Shopify, the Canadian company, and they are doing great in terms of being in Kyrgyzstan and promoting themselves for the whole world. They have, I think, customers all over the world, and doing just a great tool, organizing for customers all around the world. And this is a very good example of a company that was founded in Kyrgyzstan, but working with the whole world. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Tanat, hear about your results in the Astana Hub. We are kind of a mixture between startups and more mature IT companies.
Thank you for invitation for this event. My name is Tanat. I'm the Director of Office International Relations in Astana Hub. So I didn't prepare any slides, so I will be short.
It's better that way.
Okay. So if you tell about results, so we have now 571 IT companies registered in Astana Hub. So 57 of them are international companies. So all residents of Astana Hub attracted more than $100 million since 2018. So we were established at 2018, so 3 years. So during these years, we have developed more than 20 startup programs. So we work with all the audience. So the main mission of Astana Hub is to develop technological entrepreneurship in Kazakhstan. So we do activities on promoting the technological entrepreneurship. So for that we work actively in social media. We do a lot of thematical events, motivational events for the general audience. After that we create communities of IT specialists, startups and IT companies. So we accelerated more than 220 startups within these 3 years. Also, we big results is that we opened new coding schools called Alem. So it's based on the methodology of Ecole 42. Here also we recently developed a partnership with Plug and Play Tech Accelerator. So we are now having a corporate acceleration program with huge companies in Kazakhstan. We brought here 10 local startups and 10 international startups to tackle with the challenges of the corporations. What can I say also? We are in 2022 we are starting the new program with MTS company from Russia. We built recently a 5G station in Astana Hub, so we will launch 5G incubator, and we invite all the partners, colleagues to bring their projects to Astana Hub and do some have some IT products in 5G. So
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is a good first round. Now I'll have some follow-up questions. Anna, be prepared now. For you, and I know a bit more about you. So for one is the funding side and how the TechVille example was created, through collaboration with some donors, obviously the government and things. Maybe you can touch on that. And then the other thing, Anna is the executive director of the association there. So how do you integrate the more experienced IT companies as mentors, business angels, etc., if there's a connection between them and TechVille? So those are the two questions.
You have mentioned some interesting points to refer to. I guess in building an ecosystem, or in general, it's not sufficient to have only a legislation or only private sector or only something. It's a matter of pieces of puzzle put together. In case of TechVille, which is a catalyzer behind human capital development and ecosystem or entrepreneurial ecosystem development and support, this was done with coagulated support from USAID and the government of Sweden, with an investment coming from them of almost $9 million, matched by $9.7 million from the government and private sector. So in this case, we are talking about almost $20 million coming from both parties, or three parties: government, private sector, academia, actually also, and donors, which have made it possible to fulfill a vision. Actually, we had a very nice example looking at Bulgaria many years ago when they said, oh, we want to reach 5 billion or something. Many years ago, we were mentioning that we would like to reach 1 billion in ICT. Actually, this year, or at the end of 2020, we had 878 million. So we are almost there, slowly going there.
Congratulations.
And TechVille was one of the main probably drivers in that case. Without the private sector support, or without the donor support, or without the community support, this would not have been possible. Today we are present in every rayon of Moldova with a specific program teaching the skills of the future, such as artificial intelligence or programming, or mobile applications or web development for kids in schools. We are developing 5 centers of excellence within or throughout Moldova under the TechVille network. We are doing verticals such as fintech, power tech, agriculture and technology, so linking also other sectors with IT to find new niche opportunities for the IT sector. The private sector is super important because with their, for example, in some of the programs, we don't go further beyond without a trainer coming from the private sector. We believe that hands-on experience and technical experience and a bit of teaching experience is super important. Otherwise, we would be just taking professors from the university. But our role is more to prepare the professors from the university to teach the next generation of students. So we have interventions at every level, and private sector is involved, be it sponsorship, be it trainers. We also launched the Business Angel Network as a club. Most of the startups that have received prior support from TechPool are among the angel investors now in there, so because this is a good give back to the community. Overall, in creation of new businesses and new product related businesses, we are slightly working on moving from the outsourcing model towards the product and value add model, where the growth of the innovation or the ratio of more value add is there. And there is always a matter of combined and joint efforts. Therefore, bringing together, over the years, we've brought together many companies. Even the creation of the Moldova IT Park was at the initiative of 15 ATIC members at that time, which is quite important. We are competing, but then we are working together when it's for the good of the whole industry. I guess that's the secret. Collaborate, innovate, support, and a great vision. I remember one person saying, have good expectations and nice results. We have overachieved all our results in the last
Thank you. I think this is exactly the point, is building the community. I think this is quite important, that everybody works together, and I think in a lot of our countries this is beginning to happen. So the collaboration and communication between the private sector needs to be improved, and also with the governments, donors, and everybody else. And that's how you build new ideas and create new things. And 5 billion is Romania, 2 billion is Bulgaria. And you guys, congratulations on getting to almost 900. So thanks. Thank you, Anna. Going to Akshay, how about if you can tell us a bit about this connection in India, for example, between the more mature IT companies, the startup community, and also, is there any interest towards Central Asia, you think?
Let me answer that by saying, I think historically, as you all know, the reason why the IT parks and the IT exports grew was because of the outsourcing and because of the engineering companies and the talent. Over time, what has happened is that the focus of the government has now moved to providing technology for the masses. And so while that IT boom between 2000 and say 2010 was very, very valuable in raising services exports, reaching new milestones, getting foreign exchange. From 2010 to 2012 onwards, the focus actually has shifted in the last decade to providing technology and information technology for the masses. You see that in various ways. We call it technology for sustainable development goals, data for development. I mean, these are all different kinds of ways of saying that the focus now has to be in creating digital public goods. And what happens is when you start focusing on digital public goods, it is not a private industry contract-led revolution. This is a revolution that is actually being led in a PPP model. So for instance, whether you take the unique identity program, whether you take the National Payments Corporation of India, which does all the billions of digital payments every day, there is the new RuPay card. All of these different software products are now all digital public goods. The shareholding is between the government, the central bank owns it, half the shares, and the rest of it is owned by the different banks. So there are all kinds of models, but basically these are digital public goods. And so the model that has developed, to answer your question, the model that has developed to support this trend or this ask or this goal, the vision that the government has, is that the startups have started to provide these smaller kind of applications, if you will, smaller apps, whereas the big companies are taking on the big infrastructure issues. So, say the internet, the Indian tax network, for instance, is done by one company, and say the biometrics is done by another company. And these companies are then using these smaller companies to provide specific technologies. Or if the government wants to use it, they go to the smaller startup directly. In some ways, actually, this is no longer an IT park in that traditional sense of the word, because it's not happening in one physical location as it was the case here in India. But I think the collaboration is happening on software and in a distributed fashion. So I think that we've had now 20 unicorns in the last 2 years. I think that is saying something, where 20 companies have come out of nowhere to have billion-dollar valuation. And by the way, there's like another 30 of gazelles and cheetahs. There's all kinds of terminology that is floating around in India that are going to be billion-dollar companies next year and the year after. So that was a long way, sort of a roundabout way for answering your question, to say that I think that besides the outsourcing work that the big industrial companies are doing, the big IT companies as well as the smaller startups are now focused on digital public goods. There are various models here at play that are working, not necessarily within the same physical compound.
I think it's important from Anna's and yours, going outsourcing to products. I think there's also to be careful how much you go into product quickly, right? You should, keep that safety of the outsourcing business to kind of fund your product development. Don't jump into it that quickly. And I think it takes time and years. And like both of you said, it's been years that they've been only doing outsourcing. Now they're going into something. So don't jump into things too quickly. So, thank you very much. Abu Bakr, maybe a question to you is how do you integrate the private sector into the plans of the government? Are you working, I guess, probably with the World Bank CASA project or something like this? I'm sure that's somehow involved as well.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Philip. So, as I mentioned, in a new edition of draft law on technological parks, there will be 3 kinds of establishment of administrative of the technoparks. First of them, it's regulation of technoparks will be government, and the second one, so it's a PPP, public-private partnership, and the third one, it's only private sector can establish and can regulate that kind of technoparks, for instance, IT park or R&D park or another one. So these kind of options of regulations will take all opportunities for all partners of economic sector, including private sector, that only that companies, that fintech companies can establish and can regulate it and be as administrator of technoparks that have funds and skills regarding establishing that kind of technoparks. And the public-private partnership is an all well-known model in the world, that when government will support private sector on establishment legal framework and will collaborate with the private sector to establish and promote all the ideas that can be integrated with the private sector. And as example, I want to mention our model for establishing Council of Artificial Intelligence under the Ministry of Industry and New Technologies. These kind of collaborations, like a PPP, can use skills from private sector and government. Mr. Philip.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Going to Chubak. Again, one for you, the question is between kind of IT companies, mature and startups. What's the relationship there? And maybe for you as well, I will ask the same, Tanat. But the follow-up question is also what, you're doing outsourcing and things like this with, we saw US, Russia and things like this. What do you think? Is there an opportunity with other CIS countries or Eastern Europe, Moldova, for example? Is there any opportunities that you think could be developed as outsourcing, collaboration, development, new products and things like this? So just two follow-up questions for both of you.
Okay, so I'll start from the second one. We have very similar, let's say, module. So we also started from outsource, and we're doing a very good job in doing outsource for the last 10 years. But now for the last few years, we're also trying to switch to the product development. Now more and more startups are rising in Kyrgyzstan, and we're expecting to have that one unicorn. And we're also collaborating with our colleagues in this direction in terms of startups in Kazakhstan and in Uzbekistan by having joint opportunities, and possibly we will create some joint programs. We're already sending some of our startups to Astana Hub to the acceleration programs. And I think we will have that paradigm. So from one side, the top performing outsourcing companies, and from the other side, the companies that do their own products, like by the example of GrowWave company that had that opportunity. I mean, as you know, from Kyrgyzstan, from the region, Central Asia, it's very hard to promote your product worldwide. And it's a very good example, and I think it actually proves that we can do it as a region to have that. In terms of first question, you've said, what is the
linkage between the more mature companies? How do they help the startups, and is the park, helping that connection?
You mean to the startups? Yeah.
Startups.
Very good question. So in this term, the high technology park has its own premises where we give opportunity for the very young startups. Incubation program, so they can have a so-called proof of concept. They can get free offers for 3 months and all our network, and as well as partners. And they also have an opportunity to pitch, have contact with possible investors. So as I said, it's a very early stage incubators, and as you know, for the startups, it's very important when you have that support on the very early stage. And on that stage, we can actually give them all they needed expertise in terms of giving them to the acceleration or having them some mentors. So depending on their business, we can give them all that kind of support. But we also have accelerators in all other programs, and our companies can easily also be a mentor. So from time to time, we're always organizing different type of webinars, not only for our residents, but for the whole IT community. So giving them more information about the industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe you can do more community building kind of events as well. Gather everybody.
Yeah. Just for example, we are giving a free space for holding all IT related events at HTTP for free. So everyone can actually get. So this is our support of IT community.
Thank you. Great.
So they can have the joint events, and by so as you know, it's very popular feature in the US and in developed countries when you have a group by interests, and we want to create that here, so everyone can have that small groups and possibly can create or come to some good ideas.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Tanat?
Regarding the first question, is that, as you know, we have companies that are getting tax preferences, so we have a contra obligation that they help young startups with consulting. So they do some consulting, do workshops, do some master classes for the startups. it is written on the contract. So
Very
we,
good. That's the
we
way
have
to-
created this kind of mechanism. Yes. Also, we collaborate with international partners that give their resources like Amazon Web Services. So we try to use every source of help to our startups. Regarding the second question, so I can say that we are international technopark that, as I remember, when we did second acceleration program, we had startups from Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, from Kyrgyzstan, Russia. So we provided them with accommodations. It was free of charge. So and here I see that we can continue our partnership collaborations, and we want our partners to integrate with our ecosystem, do some common programs. So unfortunately, we do not have some developed IT outsourcing sites. So now we are working on this. So we're trying to make some expert-oriented programs. We support IT companies. We we launched the program of international agents, the companies that are situated in other countries, and they help our startups to attract money, attract clients. And, so that's our activities.
Thank you. Thank you. We have about 3-4 minutes left. Any questions from the audience? Don't be shy. No shy. Everybody's shy. And I know you're not shy, right there.
Creating a roadmap for the development of IT parks in Central Asia, and Chubak knows perfectly from our previous job between IT park in Uzbekistan and in Kyrgyzstan, and with the help of Elena's son and the development of the concept of one market, one IT center for development, because I support this idea that the promotion of our whole Central Asian market to the West is much more preferable than individually. But that's the big problem. Each government wants to go to the market first. Okay, this is a competition and everyone wants to win. But how to unite government levels and the markets in order to change the perspective of a Western customer that they can trust to the Central Asian companies?
So I have a kind of a reply to that. We used to do this with Anna in another region, and it was promoting regions. Obviously, Moldova is doing pretty good with 900 million of exports and going up. I think joint promotion can only help you. The competition is afterwards. They have to know about you first and come here, and then they can choose whoever they want to choose. If you go back, and Anna can also confirm this, the competition between the companies was immense in the beginning, and they didn't even talk to each other in many countries that we worked in. But then they even give each other the outsourcing opportunities because they don't want to lose a client and they want to represent their country or the region. So for me, promoting the region is quite important and necessary. To bring together the countries at a similar level is also important, because you can't have somebody that's not doing anything and others doing something. And you know, the foreign investors know this, and they don't want to come to one country. They want to have a larger market in on all 5 countries. So sorry, Chubak, if you want to add something. No, okay.
I was having the same idea.
Okay.
So we have to promote the image of Central Asia for the world. Because I mean, last time we had a big event so-called the Connect AG, when we had a first try to show the IT potential of Kyrgyzstan. But we must go further, have that joint effort. So we already started to talk about this with Kazakhstan. Just recently we had a talk on that, and hopefully soon. Yeah, on a government level, we do have some issues in terms of having more time and how, when, but we already started some work on this. And as you do remember, last year we also had a talk on this. And definitely we will start from the promotion of the region, and then we can choose in what exactly the best each country. Yeah.
Thanks. And then that Connect KG 3B ICT, which is a network from Southeast Europe and Eastern Europe, were represented. They're interested, so they're coming as a group as well, led by Romania at that time. But
sure.
So yes.
Yeah.
So
just as next year, we're also planning, and then hopefully we will announce, and you will see the new like hybrid format of Connect KG.
Perfect. Perfect. I'd like to thank all the presenters. We're right on time with our presentations. Hopefully we'll broke it up a little bit and made it a little bit interesting for everybody. I appreciate your time, guys. I wish you were here in person, but maybe next time. And see you soon. Thank you very much.